I'm an American. My
All
electric
right.
bill is so expensive. I sit outside in the heat because I can't afford to turn
This
the
one's a
AC
little
on.
more
In the damn
serious
house.
nature.
I'm an American,
Well, a lot of
and I
movies
fear
are,
I'm
but
just an average American. I'm living the American dream. I'm an American. I pay $1,600 for a flat that has no bedroom. That's two income. I'm an American. I work 50 hours a week. I don't have health insurance. I'm an American. I couldn't afford to have a child even if I wanted to. I'm $7,000 in debt. I'm an American. My health is declining because I can't afford Whole Foods because that's too expensive for my life. I am very overqualified for my job, but no one else is hiring.
so let's just
I'm an
play and let
American.
this sink in.
I make my boss hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, while I can barely keep myself alive. I'm an American. I have never been out of the States. I have never been on a vacation. I'm an American. I make 20 some dollars an hour. The livable wage here is like 30 some. Yet I don't qualify for government assistance whatsoever. On the days I don't work, I'm so tired I just sleep all day. I'm an American. My electric bill is so expensive. I sit outside in the heat because I can't afford to turn the AC on in the damn house. I'm an American, and I fear I am just an average American. I'm living the American dream. I'm an American. I pay $1,600 for a flat that has no bedroom. That's two-thirds of my income. I'm an American. I work 50 hours a week. I don't have health insurance. I'm an American. I couldn't afford to have a child even if I wanted to. I'm $7,000 in debt. I'm an American. My health is declining because I can't afford Whole Foods because that's too expensive for my life. I am very overqualified for my job, but no one else is hiring. I'm an American. I make my boss hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, while I can barely keep myself alive. I'm an American. I have never been out of the States. I have never been on a vacation. I'm an American. I make 20 some dollars an hour. The livable wage here is like 30 some. Yet I don't qualify for government assistance whatsoever. On the days I don't work, I'm so tired I just sleep all day. I'm an American. My electric bill is so expensive. I sit outside in the heat because I can't afford to turn the AC on in the damn house. I'm an American, and I fear I am just an average American. I'm living the American dream.
All right, so let
Is
that
a
one.
Cybertruck really bulletproof? Let's find out.
Whoops.
How much paper does it take to stop?
All right, I don't want to watch that, but that was American Dream, and that was other stuff. All right, so let me type in this. Type in American Dream. See what pops up. Okay, movies, a song. Let's listen to this one.
Is the American dream overrated?
In the modern culture, yeah.
Why do you say that?
I mean, in the 50s, 80s, that was the greatest boom of economy. It's dead. The dream is dead.
But why are Americans looked down upon for wanting to be optimistic and thinking that you can do whatever you want?
What do you mean by you can do whatever you want?
Hear me out. In the UK, it's classes. So once you were born in a certain class, if you have a certain last name, if you come, you disagree.
It's not as great as America, but again, America is also very limited, I think.
What are America's biggest limitations?
The big businesses sold the whole country. They went to China. They sold themselves. The politicians sold themselves. Capital is good, but I think the whole American democracy is sold themselves to the big monopolies, and that's why American dream is gone.
Is the American dream overrated?
In the modern culture, yeah.
Why do you say that?
All right, he's definitely right on the money. He's definitely right on the money. I mean, it's corporations. Run by corporations. Let's see what other kinds of goodies I can come up with. Let's see what this one says. This one's probably
There's only one place they call, the country's name follows by a dream. There is no Australian dream. There is no Spanish Spain dream or, French dream or Russian dream. It's only the American dream. Because I can come here, I can decide to live a big life, I can live a small life, I can be a regular person, I can be famous, I can be rich, I can be poor. You can be whatever you want to be here. Nobody cares in America. There's only one place they call, the country's name follows by a dream. There is no Australian dream. There is no Spanish Spain dream.
Okay, he provides a valid point. So, again, I want to look at both sides of the coin because there's always two sides. I know the first two were basically, criticizing the American dream, but you always have to see the other side of things as well. And let's see what this one says.
Hi, I'm here for the American Dream. Oh, great. Go ahead and line up right over there. Awesome, thanks. Hi, one American Dream, please. Well, first, you'll need a $40,000 college degree. Oh, I came to this country with only $5 in my pocket. No problem. Take this $40,000 debt and head to the next station. Awesome, thank you. Hi, American, now that you have a college degree, you'll need a car to get to your job. Oh, okay. That'll be $20,000. I don't take this debt and head over there. Next, $400,000 to buy your house. Take this debt and keep in mind, by the time you pay this house off in 30 years, you would have paid us $500,000 in interest. So the house will end up costing you $1 million. I don't think I can afford this. Oh, and if you get a raise at work, be sure to upgrade your car. And when can I expect to retire? I mean, you got stuff to pay for, so 65 if you're lucky. This is not a dream, it's a nightmare. Hi, I'm here for the American Dream.
All right, let's check this one out.
Do you believe in the American Dream, or do you think it's possible?
It is possible. There's a lot of challenges to overcome, but there's also a lot of opportunities, so it's possible.
Where did your parents come from?
Ethiopia, and also from there, I moved here for school.
And would you ever go back to Ethiopia, or do you think you'd stay here in the United States?
Over the years, I think I've become more open towards moving back as well, but I've also been experienced in other countries, and I think I'm open to live outside of the U.S. and not Ethiopia, other contexts as well.
Do you believe in the American Dream, or do you...
All right, well, she speaks the Queen's English. All right, well, I'm not going to sit there and watch every, video on the whole topic, because I've seen a lot of these videos like this one. I think I watched that one and left a comment on it. But anyhow, think of this as like that old documentary, Walmart, High Cost or Low Price. If you remember that one from like 10, 15 years ago. All right, let me stop sharing that window. So you always have to, I always like to look at both sides of the coin whenever I delve into a topic. All right, I don't want to be, I'm not so far to the right, or let me phrase that. I'm not so far to one side where I'm just like, fuck it, I'm just going to get a plane ticket. I mean, I contemplate looking for other opportunities and, less expensive places to live, because from that one side, yeah, it's expensive as fucking hell. Well, yeah, you can make that kind of money, but the issue is that we're running into having to give it back by, rent, like that first girl was saying, what did she say? She was paying like $1,600 for a flat that doesn't have its own bedroom or whatever. Can't afford to eat real food, so her health is declining. So those are very valid points. Then, the other one, or the other two rather, I'm assuming both were, they were both from other countries. They came here from wherever. I know that one girl's from Ethiopia. not much really to do there, but she came here, she's going to school for something and may relocate to some other country, maybe the US and maybe some other country other than Ethiopia. And a lot of people, case in point, if you're a wrestling fan, as well as I do, a lot of the wrestlers are from other countries. And this isn't like all kayfabe storylines. Although they have, with Kofi Kingston, they did deliberately bill him from Jamaica, even though he's actually from Ghana, West Africa. But that was like many, many years ago. Now they just say he's from Ghana. But he speaks the Queen's English, He sounds like he was born here. And Rusev, he's from Bulgaria. So again, that's one example where people come from other countries to pursue something. NBA. A lot of the players are there from other countries. And that's why, in the 92 Olympics, at first it created a lot of controversy. How dare the U.S. throw in professional basketball players? But, over time, because so many players are from other countries, that, 96, 2000, all those professional NBA players, they would go play for their own countries. And in fact, I think the last time, I think it was like 2008 was when the U.S. won the gold again, because they didn't win it in 2000 or 2004. I'm not sure about 2012. I'd have to go look it up. But, since 92, they haven't won the gold every single time. But, again, that's one side, worth arguing. And, and they're all successful people, good for them. Now the other side is, for the rest of us, and this is where I'll tap into this side, if you work 40 hours a week, wherever, there should be some type of affordable living means. Nobody should have to fucking, stay with family or fucking couch surf just to fucking survive. And that ties into that, that first woman who's like, I pay $1,500 a month for a flat that doesn't even have its own room. I make $20 an hour. I'm never on vacation. My days off, I just sleep because I'm so fucking tired. I don't know what she does for work or whatever, but I think a lot of it's really boiling down to greed. Not so much just inflation. It's fucking greed. They know they can fucking charge people more money for certain products like food, especially gluten-free. And that's a whole nother thing. Like, we seem to be the only nation. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you're from other developed nations and you have things like allergic to milk, soy, celiac, gluten, or whatever food allergens or disorders, let me know in the chat, or let me know in the comments after I cut the stream, if you also experience that. Don't want to be closed-minded here, but I know my a lot of my other videos, talking about, I'm going to get a plane ticket, fly to the U.S. And again, I still look at that option. You have to do your research, but it's in spite of being in crazy debt, not because of it. Because again, you go that route, you're pretty much forfeiting your right to live in the U.S. or hell, even come back. And again, you're also fucking alienating every other fucking connection that you've ever had. And do you really think they're going to come fly all the fucking way out to wherever you are? I highly, highly doubt it. But, this there has to be middle ground with all this, you know. And again, you know, even if you work, you know, a junk job like McD's, fucking being a cashier, there should be some type of means for those people to find a place to live that is not their parents' house. And don't get me started on college. We all know that is full of fucking greed. You know, I think I thought it was bad in 2010, but I think it's more about generating revenue, you know, than pumping out educated people to go out and get jobs in those fields. And, you know, again, you know, I'm not going to totally knock college at all. I mean, I went later in life, my choice. I've had some snippets of success, you know, whatever. But, you know, the problem is, you know, my era, you know, we were taught that, you know, if you go to college, you know, you're going to end up working shit jobs and da-da-da-da. And that's the environment that we grew up in. And sometimes I still see elements of that, you know, because all these kids are going to these, you know, expensive as fuck schools. You know, like, why should you fucking, you know, have to spend like 30, 40, 50K per semester just to get a fucking bachelor, you know? Just to get your fucking bachelor's. I mean, you know, what I did when I went, you know, I went to a community college at first, you know, get all the have-tos out of the way, all that crap, you know, so you save a good chunk of money that way. And, you know, again, well, got to get back on the saddle with that. I started to it before I lost my job. You know, I got another one now, so, you know, I got to integrate that back into my budget here, you know. And, you know, again, you know, there may be other things I may have to, you know, adjust. I mean, I can't adjust my fucking car payment, you know. But, you know, may just have to adjust, you know, my living situation, you know, and that's fine, you know. But, you know, again, you know, while, you know, a cashiering, you know, waving scanners, you know, over items or punching in codes, you know, should never equal, like, you know, what most people would want to call a living wage. And that's a back and forth thing. Like I said, if you work 40 hours a week somewhere, you should be able to find some type of affordable place to live that isn't relying on you couch surfing, staying with family, or fucking hunting for cheap apartments that have 2-3 bedrooms that you got to share with like-minded people who work those things, those same type of jobs, and so on and so on. So you get my point. And, you know, again, the cost of rent is crazy, and a lot of people just like to be fucking, you know, greedy. Trust me, I've seen this on fucking Craigslist. You know, like, how does one justify what some of these places are going for? I mean, I know, you know, they got to pay their expense, all that stuff, you know, and a lot of people rent out rooms to help with expenses. But, you know, a lot of times, you know, from some of the price I've been seeing on Craigslist, you know, it's like, it's almost become, you know, greedy, you know. Anyhow, you know, that's just really all I wanted to say. You know, I truly think, you know, for many people, the American dream, you know, maybe just make as much money as you can and relocating to somewhere that's much more affordable. You know, that's just my 2 cents on that. You know, I don't advocate, you know, fleeing just because you are running away from debt or whatever, you know. Well, I left the U.S. because I ain't paying my fucking student loans. You know? You know, I'm not advocating that extreme, okay? So I just want to make that clear. But, you know, it's expensive to live in the U.S. And, you know, hell, federal minimum wage hasn't gone up. You know, and that's a whole other subject in of itself. But anyhow, that's just my 2 cents. I'll talk to you.